Hi Saurabh, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. So can you tell me something about yourself?
Yes. My name is Prachi Vrat. I belong to Odisha. So, I have 4 years of experience in QA, in IT industries. And coming to the domains I've worked on, I have already worked on e-commerce, then healthcare, then I have worked on like a banking project, and currently I'm working. It's like new domain. I think people don't know about it. It's like GRC platform, is government and risk and compliance platform, where we are just automating the rectech voice process. Like we're helping the call centers to monitor their calls through a product, and we have built that product, and I'm working in the QA team in that product. And coming to the types of testing, I have experience in functional testing, and I have also experience in API using Postman, and that's all about the experiences I have.
Mhm. Great. So can you tell me something about the automation framework which you are using?
Actually, I have not worked with automation, but I have worked. It's a low-code automation tool. It's a Test Sigma. The name is Test Sigma.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's a scriptless automation. We're not writing any scripts. So only we're just there's a button to like record and play. So where the XPath are automatically recorded, and whatever the regression should we have written manually, those things we can just record it.
Okay, great. So you can automate a desktop, I mean Windows plus web-based applications, both using that Test Sigma tool.
Yes, yes, yes.
And is that an open source tool?
No, it's not an open source.
Okay, it's a paid tool. Mm-hmm.
It's paid.
Okay.
It's something like Tosca.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So in your technical skill set, you have mentioned about test automation framework, Java, right?
Yes. The
SQL, Jira.
Java and Selenium currently I'm learning actually, but I don't have any hands-on experience in those things.
Okay, okay, no worries.
Yes.
Hmm. So, you don't have hands-on experience, but let's say logically, theoretically, you would be able to answer, right? So we
Correct,
can
correct.
continue some questions on them. Okay. So now let me share my screen. And this is one
Okay.
of the scenario that you need to automate.
Correct. Okay.
So is the screen visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Hmm. So let's say we have one of the web page which you are supposed to automate, and we have 10 frames in that. On the 10th frame, there are
Okay.
multiple checkboxes with the same name, right? How will you check whether it is selected or not? So ID and XPath again are all identical, same to same for all those checkboxes. So how will you go to that 10th frame and how will you check whether that it is selected or not?
Mm, okay. So you were asking this on basis of automation, right?
Right, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Mm, So XPath are like they're like same for those 10 things, right?
Mhm,
Okay. Mm. Sorry, I think I cannot answer this
mhm.
question.
Okay, no worries. So let's say if this is the scenario that is given to you in a real-time interview,
Okay.
how will you go to the 10th frame, right? So using frame name, you are using frame index, you can navigate first. There will be some section available on the 10th frame, which is displayed by default or which is explicitly displayed on the 10th frame. So we can get text over there. We can perform get
Okay.
text, right? And
Okay.
this is about frames, right? Now there are multiple checkboxes with the same name. How to check whether it is selected or not? So again, in checkboxes, maybe you will have some text. Again, with
Yeah.
those checkboxes, maybe on the next subsequent page or next subsequent action, you would receive some sort of confirmation or some message, right? Which you can check. And as this is 10
Yes.
frames, you can also go for loop, right? And
Okay. Yes.
during the
Yes.
10th,
Yes.
yeah, you can keep some if condition there. So this is
Correct.
on a very high level, right? The script will be more big and it would be time consuming, but in a real time interview, you won't be asked to write the script explicitly. You would be expected to answer from the logical manner.
Correct. Okay.
Hmm.
Got it. Thank you.
Now in the
Yes.
same, yeah, now in the same question, let's say now let's let's see whether you are able to answer this or not. Okay. Uh, for the same example, now we have to select those checkboxes using the mouse in Selenium. Okay, then how
Okay.
will we do that?
Mm, I think we have to go for the select class or
Select
uh,
class.
uh, sorry, actually I could not
Mhm.
answer this questions information.
No
Sorry.
worries, no worries. So let this be an open question for the people who are watching this video.
Okay.
How will you automate this particular scenario, right? We have to select the checkboxes using the mouse in Selenium. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So let us move further then. Hmm. In your resume, you have mentioned that you have developed comprehensive test plans outlining testing strategies and objectives.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, what is the difference between test plan and test strategy first? Yeah.
So test strategy is like kind of organizational level,
Mm,
whereas your text plan is as per the project level actually.
mm,
So in our text plan, we include like whatever the resources we have, what are the skill sets they have, what are the time estimations to complete that project.
mm,
Then what either it's we're going for the manual process or we're going for automation, or if we're going for the automation, what is the tool we're going to use, and then we also go for like what to test, what not to test. That means what is in scope, what is out of the scope, and what are the deliverables. And these are the things we consider while we're writing the test plans.
mm,
And coming to test strategy, we actually just do it as per the organizational level. That means what are the resources we have, then how we'll manage this, a particular thing or like particular that project. So according to like what strategies we'll do, like what are the things we know accordingly, then what are the constraints we have, how to overcome or mitigate those constraints, accordingly prepare the test strategy.
mhm. Okay. So, what are the agile ceremonies that you follow in your project?
The first thing that like we follow daily stand-up calls
Mm,
where we everyone meet in a room and we discuss what are the tasks we have to complete in a day. Then we go for let's say a project is coming, then in agile we're moving with the like sprints. So a
mm,
sprint planning meeting is done where like every developers, testers, business analyst, project manager, we gather in a room and we discuss in a particular like a sprint what are the user stories can be taken,
mhm,
and accordingly what are the resources we have and how much like what are the number of stories, what are the complexity of those user stories that can be taken.
mm,
That is decided in the sprint planning meeting. Then once the project is going on, we face some difficulties, we do some mistakes, and for that we go for sprint retrospective meetings. So what are the steps that we can follow, like to overcome those issues or challenges we're facing in the current project, and what are the mistakes we have done so that the project is taking much time, we're like struggling with the project. Those things we those things we like discuss in that sprint retrospective meeting. And then what else, I think that's all like we follow
mhm.
in agile. Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. So when do we, so this is about API testing. Are you aware about API testing?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hmm? So what is the difference between put and post?
Okay. So post is something like it's a method whenever giving some payload. So like let's say there is we want to update something, we're adding something in the body and we want to get that response. Let's say
Mhm,
there is a bunch of there is a data pack we're giving and certain things we want to add and we want to see that whether the server is responding and is updating correctly or not, then you use the post method. But for the put method, what we are doing is that whenever we're going to update something, then we're using actually put method.
mhm,
Some existing code where we want to update. then put method. Yes.
Okay. Let's say if we send the same request multiple times, then what will
Okay.
happen with respect to put and post?
Okay. I think uh, whenever we'll send multiple times put request,
Mm,
so I think it might give an error. But I think like because the
mm.
thing has already been updated, so if I send again and again, I think it will send a message that this already been updated. I think so.
Okay.
Mm,
So let's say if you send the same request multiple times, in case of put, the result will remain the same.
yeah.
While
Yes.
in case of post, what would happen if you send the same post request more than one time, you will receive different results, right?
Okay.
Because put works as specific, post will be working as abstract. You can create query
Yes.
in post and you
Yes.
will
Yes.
use update query in put.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Hmm. So what will happen in put? The client will decide which resource, which URI resource you have to use. In case of post, the server will decide, right? So
Okay.
that's how it goes, put versus post.
Post.
Um,
Yes.
hmm. Is it possible to cache the put method responses?
No, I don't know.
Mhm. Right, right. So you cannot cache put method responses, whereas post method answer can be cached.
Yes. Okay.
So that was about put and post. Mm. When do we get 200 and 400 status code?
200 is that means whatever the request we are sending to the server is just responding correctly. So it's a
Mm,
200 okay status we are giving whenever doing. That means the API is get like working fine. For
mm,
400 side, this is a like client side error.
mm,
Like I think we in that case where like some missing data we are just giving as a request or some
mm,
incorrect data we are giving as a request, then we are getting for not series error
mhm.
in that case.
Right. So 200 when you will receive, then that means the result is successful. Okay.
Yes.
When you will get 400 bad requests, so you might get 401 unauthorized, you might get
Yes.
403 forbidden, you might get 404 not found. So those
Yes.
4x series is related to this. Then in the real-time interview, you might be asked about 500 series. So 500 is nothing but internal server error. 503 is
Yes.
service unavailable, right? So this is how you can
Yes.
explain. Then they might
Okay.
also ask which are the different HTTP status codes that you are aware of, right? Then created is 201 success following a post command. So all those things you can explain. These are quite commonly asked API testing interview questions.
Yes. Okay.
So in your resume, in the skill development courses, you have mentioned business analysis, product management, Jira and Confluence, Selenium and Java. You have done them
Yes.
online, but
Yes. Online.
yeah, but at which time period? So was it 2022? Was it 2023? In which time period you have done these courses?
I have completed this courses in 23 itself, and but for that Java and Selenium actually is going on. It's not completed.
Hmm, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you have also mentioned you are doing conducting API testing using Postman.
Yes.
Hmm. So how will you automate an API using Postman tool?
For the automation, actually, I've not worked. I've only manually validated all the responses.
Okay. So how will you manually validate that particular response in Postman?
So for that, like we have API documentation we get where
Hmm.
like everything's mentioned, like what kind of method you have to like put for the specific APIs. For example, there is a get method where we have a specific URL, and if we hit that button, then we'll get all that details of that web page. So like in our platform where like in my project, let's say we are working with auth 2.0 something, where we have a bearer token. So this for an login page, I am giving the credentials, correct credentials. I am hitting the send button. Then like a token ID is generated actually. So in that token ID, I will use the token ID to go like to the next modules. Let's
Mm,
we have an event page. We have something called is not like we are just monitoring the like in India we have a Reserve Bank of India, like in Australia we have AFCA, and in US we have FINRA, where they are all regulating the insurance and regulatory bodies. So we have a module that we fetch all the complaints from there. So to move there, first of all, you have to be authorized. So for
mm,
that, once a token is generated, we just use those token and we move to the next modules. Else,
mm.
like the system will not allow it to move to the next module.
Okay.
So from there, yes,
So
likely from the
yeah,
documentation
yeah.
we do. Yeah.
Please, yeah, yeah. Please go ahead. Documentation. You were mentioning something.
Yes, I told that from that Swagger documentation, what we are getting, everything is that mentioned, whatever the response and what are the like request will hit there. So
Mm,
accordingly, we put our the body will put our what are the like requests we want to put. Then we validate the responses. We check like let's say we're putting the JSON like JSON request, then the like the response we're getting it should be in the JSON format. Then
mm,
we're the response code we're validating what let's say we're giving a post request it should be 201, whereas
mm,
we're giving a get request when getting a like successful validation we should give a 200 series that is successfully okay. And then also we check the time responses there, like what are the time it is taking to get the response. And for that there is like in Postman we can write some test cases using JSON or JavaScript. So there's some assertions column is there. Also there's some snippets. Let's say the commonly used snippets where you can
mm.
check the like the time it is taking, the status code it should give, the content type, and those things actually we check through that.
Okay, great. So you were mentioning about assertions. So which are the different assertions that you are using in Postman tool?
For that one is like for the checking the time responses, and second one is for we check for cookies. Somehow we check for that headers. Then we check for like content type. Sometimes the content length is not same, it changes, so we do not actually check the content length, but the content type we check that whether it's a JSON format or not. And certain things we like these three four things we check
Hmm.
while in certain.
So one is the assertion, which is related to status code. So you will
Yes,
validate, you will verify that particular status code is coming as per expectation 200, 201 or 401, right?
yes,
Then you will check the time taken by the response, right? So
yes,
we will have one assertion in which the time taken by the response is I mean, it is expected, and accordingly, if it does not meets those values, then that assertion will fail. Type of
correct.
type of response format is also there. So what type of a response, like you were mentioning about JSON, so what type of
Yes,
format we are getting. Then header of response is there, right?
yes,
So response, if it has header content encoding, then that particular thing will come. Text of
yes,
response. If the response text contains the some particular text expected within that particular
yes,
response,
yes, yes,
so
yes,
that
yes,
thing will come into the picture.
yes,
Okay. Um, when we were discussing about API testing, I think 2 or 3 questions back, you were mentioning about token, bearer
yes,
token, right? So
yes,
what is so there will be some duration for that token, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then the new token will get generated with the help of encryption algorithm or key mechanism that have been implemented by the development team. So how will you
yes.
handle this thing? Because the older token will get expired, the newer token will be coming into the picture. So how will you handle this thing in testing?
Mm, okay. Mm, I think once the token is generated, if there is a specific time for that, then I think in that particular time period only you can perform certain activities because we have already logged into the platform. And let's say for the new token once generated, then I think the user should be logged down then, like logged out at that time. Or actually, I don't know how to handle this.
Mhm. Okay. So what will you do in this case is, in case of Postman, you can create variables in Postman tool,
Yeah.
right? So you will create a variable which is dynamic variable for token, right? In the case in that flower bracket.
Okay.
Once the token is getting expired, right? So you can write some logic that after 20 minutes. So what is the token expiry duration that you will get from the development team? So after that, you can write some logic that the code is getting updated. So maybe you will have to log in once. So it will be happening at the backend, but at the same time you will be getting new token. So you can hit that API and you can get the token. So these two steps you will be keeping in the Postman suite whenever you are running. If you are running one or two APIs, then that is fine. That will run in
Yes.
seconds. But if you are running
Yes.
whole suite with various CRUD
Yes.
operations involving all APIs, then
Yes.
this will be one of the approach.
Okay.
Now I'll share my screen. Just a second. Hmm, this website is not coming up. Okay. So now can you tell me security test scenarios for this particular page?
Okay. So for that, like this is a banking application.
Mhm,
So for that, the very crucial thing is that the password or PIN. So like whenever you are putting the password, it should
mhm.
be in encrypted form. It should not
Right.
be visible to the user. Then okay. Then yes. So we have to do some like UX testing here. Like let's say a user is coming to use this platform and he doesn't have any idea how to create this password. So we have to display some messages like that. You should not use your date of birth. You should not use a commonly used password or a sequential number. But also we can give a message stating that you have to use like alphabets, numericals, and some characters to make it secure. So whenever the user is putting something, so it will give a like user friendly message to the user that the password is secured or the password is not secured. The certain tips we can use while the user will create those passwords. Then for that, the next thing is that yes, mm, okay. So once one button is that there is a forgot user ID. So once let's say the user has created his credentials, but he forgot to the like the password or something. So once let's say the forgot the user ID. So once the user will click on that button, then the message should only give like will should go to that particular mail ID that the user has given. And one thing I want to mention here is that the link that is like sent to the particular user, that should not be shareable. That means that if the user wants to share that email with anyone, there should be a message before sharing. We should put a message that because this is a very confidential thing, so at least whenever we're sending an email, like adding to that, we should keep some like content in that email that this is like this, we should not share this user id with anyone because it might hamper your securities. So this is for like secure, like this is a very secure application, so for the security issues we can keep this content to the user while giving this email. And next thing, let's say the user forgot the password. So through the pin, he can like log into the platform. So whenever you are sending the OTP to the like register mobile number, there should be a time limit for that. Once the time limit is crossed, the users will not be able to log into that platform. And the again the OTP should be changed. Like if the user is hitting multiple times to generating the OTPs, the OTPs will not be constant. We should change accordingly the number of times the user is putting the request. And that's, I think that's all.
Mhm.
It's-
Okay, so security testing is fine. So apart from that, you can enter, you can also add test cases that in the memory. So in this is a Google Chrome browser, right? So there will be the memory, the dump that would be created in the task manager. So that should not
yes,
have the password in the plain text,
yes,
right?
yes,
So plain
correct,
this information should be secured. Nowhere it should be displayed in the plain text,
yes,
right? And you will also ensure that the password value in the database is also encrypted using AES 256 encryption that we have, or any other encryption technique in the database also. It should not be in the plain text, right?
correct,
Apart
yes,
from that, you were mentioning about one scenario, that OTP one. So
yes.
OTP is coming into the picture when it is two-factor authentication is there.
Two-factor authentication,
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
correct.
Oh, okay. So two-factor if we have enabled, right, then it will come. Okay, then if you are covering two factor authentication, then you can cover about mobile-based scenarios also. You are you
Yes,
able to
yes,
unlock using the uh, mobile lock unlock icon itself from mobile, right? So those things you can. Okay. Okay, Saurav, I am done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
yeah, sir. I just want to know the
Uh-huh.
feedback so I can work actually.
Right. So, you can continue your preparation on Selenium, Java, automation things, right? That
Yeah.
will be very much helpful to you as you are having 4 years of experience,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So definitely that thing is going to come. And the tools
Yeah.
like Test Sigma, maybe those are used uh, as one of the scriptless tools in your company, that is as per the requirement it would be there, or you have got exposure. But try to learn the tools that are used in the market that will help you to uh, you know sh- um, move your career to the next level, right? So
Yes,
that is
yes.
more important. What is used in the market, that should be, that knowledge we should have, right?
Correct,
You can
correct.
give some POC on testing, but again, the Test Sigma you mentioned, it's a paid tool, and
Paid
Selenium is
tool,
an
yes.
open source tool, so that will be definitely,
Yes,
that is why it's been used also widely,
yes, yes.
right?
That's
Right.
so.
Okay.
Like one more question I have. Let's
Mhm.
say I'm just learning the automation using
Mm.
Java and Selenium. So, like in the current company, I'm not giving like that enough exposure while I
Mm.
can use those things. So, let's say I'm moving to a new company, so I could I showcase the skill sets in the resume.
Mm. So generally what happens in the organizations, once they have the team who is doing manual testing, they hardly would be moving them from from manual to
Yes,
automation, because the company's time and efforts of the other employees who are already working on some project would be getting utilized. So none of the
Correct.
organization ever would do such thing. In your case, what
Yes.
you will have to do is you will have to create your projects, you will have to create your automation frameworks at home in your holiday time period, weekends, whenever you get time. Upload that particular code to the Git repository and incorporate that particular Git link in your resume, and then you can apply for the interviews. Let
So I
people
can
see
work
on the
for
Git.
some dummy projects.
You can work for dummy projects, you can work for some freelancing projects, and you
Okay.
can also showcase them.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Saurabh. And it was
Thank
nice
you.
talking to you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And I wish you all the best for your career ahead.
Thank you. And also, you keep growing and helping the people by just
Yeah.
dreaming of a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any feedback you would like to give for the channel, other content that we should include, which you don't find on other things, on other channels?
See what I have seen in the channel that you are giving a lot of things in free actually, where people like I think you have started with a career guidance program
Hmm.
one-to-one session, and
Right.
I've seen that for what I have seen that if you go to LinkedIn somewhere people are really charging huge